There's of course the fun television programming that's on actually on the 31st of December, which is just a way to kind of kill time as you're waiting for midnight. But a lot of times those shows are kind of, digests about the whole year to let you know, what happened that year. And then there's also Kohaku, which is the music show that they do where they have the men and the women going against each other in teams of red and white. And we were really lucky because this year Lady Gaga recorded actually a performance while she was here a few weeks ago, and then that was shown during the performance. And this year the girls won, so that's cool. Girls are red team, so that was nice to see the girls win. But then you have the fun shows that are on for the whole first couple of weeks really of January. Regular television programming doesn't actually kind of resume until a little bit after Adult Day probably. And Adult Day this year is on the 9th of January, and so we kind of have everything kind of on hold until then. Some people even still don't even go to work until then, depending on how long a vacation they're allowed. Most people are back by now though. Usually by the 4th, 5th, or 6th people go back to work. School still does not start until after Adult Day. So some of the fun TV shows that are on that I personally like are a really great show that Downtown, the comedy team does called Downtown. They do a really funny show where they get together with a couple of other comedians, and their challenge is to not laugh for 24 hours straight. And so they're put in these incredibly terrifying and scary and hilarious situations and told that they can't laugh, and if they do laugh, then these strange kind of, S&M bondage looking dudes come around and beat them in the butt with a stick. It's hysterical. I know there's a lot of people that have it up on YouTube to watch. It changes every year. This year they're supposed to be kind of like pretending to be enrolled in a program to become a stewardess or a flight attendant. So they have themselves dressed up as flight attendants with little nylon stockings on, so they're incredibly uncomfortable the whole 24 hours. And then they have like just random things, simple things like trying to surprise them with funny pictures, having really famous people show up that they weren't expecting to have be there in front of them doing silly stuff. So it's a really fun time, and the show is hysterical, and it's really long. I think it's like gosh, I'm not sure. It's at least 3 hours long, maybe more like 4 or 5, depending on the special, I think. But we watch it every year, and I think it's hysterical. So that's one of my favorites. And then another of my favorite shows actually has Hamada from Downtown. He does another show where they get together a bunch of celebrities, and they can range from really high level celebrities, really famous actors, serious people, serious actors, and then musicians, and then usually some really popular people, young popular people, and then a couple of comedians are lucky if they get into the group as well. So there might be, like this year, I think there's supposed to be people, some of the girls from AKB48, and then there's also going to be Gakt. Now he's on a lot of the time. Last year he actually wasn't on, which is a little surprising, but he's been on every year, and he's got a perfect track record for the show. What the show is that these celebrities and famous people who supposedly have all this money and access to great things, they're given a challenge to test, a blind taste test for foods and wine and music, and they're supposed to be able to tell which one is the really expensive one versus which is the really cheap one. A really classic example is they have a really famous chef from like Tokyo come in and make a special dish with a special fish. And then there's also a dish of cat food. And people are blindfolded and fed a little bit, with a spoon, and then they're supposed to say, oh, I think it's A or I think it's B. And then they go into the room and wait, and everybody finally makes their decision. And then the hosts of the show come in and surprise the room that's correct. So it's a lot of fun to watch people, because especially some of the celebrities who are really rich and think they're all, totally awesome, and they're like, oh, I know I'm totally right, it's definitely B, and then it's like, surprise, you just ate cat food. It's super funny. So if you guys ever get a chance to find any of those clips on YouTube, I know it's probably all in Japanese and it might be kind of hard to follow, but they're really funny. And the amazing thing is that Gakt has never gotten one wrong yet. He's like perfect at everything, so everyone I think really wants to catch him one time and make him feel stupid. So we'll see if we can get him or not. But that's definitely one of my favorite shows. So I know there's a lot of other really fun shows. Sometimes there's lots of different marathon shows, sports shows, challenge to put as many dominoes together as you can, all sorts of random things every year. But those are some of my favorites that I really enjoy watching. So